Okay, everyone, we're going to get started. Shabbat Shalom. Just getting confirmation people virtually can hear me as well, maybe? Okay, great. Shabbat Shalom, everybody who's joining us virtually. And welcome to our Tu B'Av Shabbat. A lot of times people think of Tu B'Av as like Jewish Valentine's Day, kind of. So it's our Shabbat of love tonight. And we're going to start by singing Hine Matov, which can be found on page 128. I always like to start services with this prayer because it's a prayer about how great it is that we're all here together. So I think it's really fitting. So if you'd like to follow along on page 128. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim 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 shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov, hine matov. Ya la la, ya la 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 la. Hine matov, hine matov. Ya la la, ya la 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 la. All right, so because it is our Shabbat of love, the next prayer that we're going to sing together is called Dodi Li. And I found a little passage when I was doing some research about this prayer, and so I wanted to share it with everyone. So it says, Ani lidodi v'dodi li is a phrase often quoted in reference to love and Judaism, and it's a quote from the Song of Songs, written by the wise King Solomon. It translates to, I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. But what's the meaning behind it? Why is this passage such an iconic symbol of love? The meaning behind the passage starts in an unexpected place. The first letters of each of the words, Ani lidodi v'dodi li, spell out Elul, which in Hebrew is the month right before the high holidays, a time of repentance and self-examination. What's love got to do with that, though? As it turns out, a lot. The love referred to in this passage is that of our relationship with God, a compassionate relationship full of understanding and forgiveness, a love that understands that life is a work in progress and nobody is perfect from the start. The month of Elul gives us a chance to refocus our attention and ensure that we're making progress in the right direction toward letting the bit of God within us shine out in a beautiful way. Although we are commanded to love God, it's a two-sided and supportive relationship. And that's what makes this particular verse powerful and meaningful. It shows better than others how our relationship with God connects us and binds us together as helping each other and being there for each other. A beautiful and spiritual sentiment, it also translates into our relationships with other people. This is the kind of relationship to strive for, one where each party is there for one another in every situation or circumstance. This is the reason that this beautiful verse is often featured on wedding rings or gifts between couples. It symbolizes not only the relationship with God, but the ideal supportive relationship that builds up both of the participants and a goal for a good marriage. So, we'll be singing Dodi Li together, and I thought that maybe I could teach it a little bit because I figure not everybody might know this one. So I'll have you repeat after me. The first part goes like this. Dodi li vani lo haroe. Let's try that. Dodi li vani lo haroe. Next part goes haroe basho shanim. Haroe basho shanim. I'll do the next part. It goes Mizot ola min hamidbar. Mizot ola min hamidbar. And we'll sing together. Dodi li vani lo haroe basho shanim. Dodi li. All right, that was beautiful. Okay, we turn now to Lecha Dodi, which can be found on page 138. And this is our prayer welcoming our Shabbat bride. Together we'll read verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And on the 9th verse, we are going to stand and symbolically welcome our Shabbat bride. We'll face the entrance to the synagogue. All right, page 138. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, penei shabbat nekabela. 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 Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Ishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shemo tiferet v'litila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, penei shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, penei shabbat nekabela. Likrat shabbat lechu v'nelcha, Ki mekor habaracha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshavat tchila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, penei shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, penei shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, kiva orech umi uri, shir daberi, kevod Adonai alaich nigla. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, penei shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, penei shabbat nekabela. And we rise and face the entrance. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמונה עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. You may be seated. For our candle lighting tonight, I'd like to call up the Hand family. If you'd like to come up and light our Shabbat candles.
Yes, please.
All right. Yeah, you want to do it? Good job. All right. So we'll kindle our lights. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner, shel Shabbat. Thank you. Shabbat shalom. All right, we turn now to our Baruch Hu prayer, which is our call to worship, and that can be found on page 146. For this prayer, we rise and face the ark. Well, you're already facing the ark, but I'll face the ark. Yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. We remain standing for our Shema prayer, which can be found on page 152. And for this prayer, we cover our eyes so we can really focus. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. You may be seated. And I'm about to call up a very special young lady who I had the honor of being one of her Hebrew teachers, Hebrew tutors for her bat mitzvah. And I'm extra proud because she will be having her bat mitzvah next weekend. So I'd like to call up Eva to read our Ve'achavta for us tonight. And it can be found on the following page, 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך ושבנך לבניך ודיברתם בם בשבתך ובבטח ובלכתך בדרך ושוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידך וחיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם המזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Yasher Koach. Thank you, Eva. Okay, we turn now to our Micha Mocha prayer on page 158, our prayer for freedom. Micha Mocha ba'elim Adonai, Micha Mocha nedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot osef eleh, Nora tehilot osef eleh. Micha mocha ba'elim Adonai, Micha mocha nedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot osef eleh, Nora tehilot osef eleh. Malechutecha ra'u vanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze'elianu ve'amru, ze'elianu ve'amru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Okay, and now we turn to, oh, you know what? I skipped one of the prayers that I wanted to do tonight. So let's go backwards. And we're going to sing the prayer Ahavat Olam together. Another one for our Tu B'Av, our Shabbat of love tonight. So Ahavat Olam can be found on page 150. All right, and sing along if you know this one. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha Havta, Amhavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta, Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochbeinu, uvkumeinu nasiach bechukecha, v'nizmach b'divrei Toratecha, uvmitzvotecha le'olam va'ed, ki chem chayenu, ve'orach yameinu, yomam v'layla. Ve'ahavta al tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Thank you. All right. We turn now to our Vishamru prayer on page 162. This is our prayer about Shabbat. And I want to read the English translation for this prayer. On page 162, it reads, "The people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat throughout the ages as a covenant for all time. It's a sign for all time between me and the people of Israel. For in 6 days Adonai made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day God ceased from work and was refreshed." Now, a lot of times we refer to Shabbat as a time of rest. And you might think rest, okay, so I just go and I just take a nap the whole time, and that's my Shabbat. And you definitely can, but when we say it's a time of rest, we're not necessarily talking about sleep. We're talking about a separation between what we do normally throughout the days of the week, whether it's going to work, going to school, our regular everyday chores, and we're having a separation. That Shabbat is a little bit different, and we're going to take a step back from all of that and take this time to kind of reset and think about the things that are important to us. So let's keep that in mind as we sing Vishamru on page 162. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-shabbat, Lasot et ha-shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-shabbat, Lasot et ha-shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Beini uvein Bnei Yisrael, oti leolam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-shabbat, Lasot et ha-shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-shabbat, Lasot et ha-shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi shavat vaynafash, shavat vaynafash, shavat vaynafash. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-shabbat, Lasot et ha-shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Our thoughts now turn to those in our community who are in need of healing. Tonight, we hold in our hearts Rabbi John Hanisch, Janet Blake, Pam Branner, Lynn Newman, Sharon Friedman, Diana Carew, Jeff Borowitz, Erwin Ames, Jeffrey Albom, Baylor Robinson, Ed Edelson, Mark Jeff Stickler, Leanne Rosenberg, Trish Santana, David Berger, Doree Glazer, Glenn Martin, Paul Hiddleman, Victor Sidlow, Sharon Fisher, Mike Bergman, Michael Burton, Andrea Schlossberg, Lisa Sage, Ryan Spears, the Nolan family, Michelle Feuerman, Jimmy Korshak, Ronnie Horowitz, Sydney Herstein, Sarah and Jacob Alone, Jaden Hernandez, Shelley Presby, Ruth Nevins. If there are other names that you are thinking of this evening, please share with us now. We also think of those affected by acts of anti-Semitism and bigotry, those suffering in the Ukraine, those injured due to border challenges, those healing from all too frequent gun violence, those affected by terrorist attacks and environmental challenges, and all those caring for the ill. Our Misha Berach can be found on page 371. Misha Berach Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha Ve'imotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishe Beirach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We've now come to the central prayer of our service, the Amidah, which can be found on page 164. And for this prayer, we rise. Page 164. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'koneh Hakol, Bezocher Chastei Avot Ve'imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava. Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye hakol atah Rav le'Hoshia, Morid hatal, Mechakel chaim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofeh cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekaye emunato lishenei afar, Michamocha bal gevurot, Umidom elach, ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. We continue with silent prayer. When you are done with your silent prayer, you may be seated. עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו ועל כולם. עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו ועל כולם. סלאם עלינו ועל כל העולם. סלאם, סלאם, סלאם עלינו ועל כל העולם. סלאם, סלאם. עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו ועל כולם. I would now like to call up our Director of Education, Amy, who is going to be giving a drash tonight.
Thank you. You know he's perfectly fine wherever he wants to be. Okay. Ez, you can come back with me if you want later, okay? Okay, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So, I have a friend who always said that whatever life threw at her, all she had to do was figure out how to handle it by thinking, what would Lucy do? That's Lucy Ricardo from the iconic I Love Lucy show. And I have to admit that I questioned her choice of wisdom, but I cannot disagree with the fact that inspiration can come from just about anywhere. So, last weekend, my husband and I, both of us dressed in pink, went with our two best friends to the first movie I have seen in a theater since the pandemic. After suffering through about 30 horrible previews, noise horrible, we saw the Barbie movie. And just like that Lucy-loving friend, I came away inspired. By now, you're probably wondering what Barbie has to do with Tu B'Av, but stay with me for just a moment. I don't know about you, but I didn't grow up celebrating Tu B'Av, the 15th day of the month of Av, nor did anyone else that I know outside of my Israeli friends, and even for them, the holiday, which some call Jewish Valentine's Day, was a relatively new addition to the annual holiday calendar. It appears, however, that Tu B'Av has ancient roots. It was first mentioned in the Mishnah, a 2nd century compilation of Jewish wisdom. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel is quoted there as saying, There were no better, that is, happier, days for the people of Israel than the 15th of Av and Yom Kippur, since on those days, daughters of Israel go out dressed and all in white and dance in the vineyards to find their husbands. Well, I don't know about you, but I think this is rather strange. I certainly don't think of Yom Kippur as a happy day. So how are we to understand the juxtaposition of Tu B'Av and Yom Kippur and their predecessor holiday of Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of the month in which we remember the destruction of not just one, but both of the holy temples, and some other coincidental and sorrowful losses in our past? Rabbi Sari Laufer helps shed light on the connections. She writes, Tu B'Av, like Yom Kippur, is about introspection and new beginnings concerning our relationships and personal values. How courting was done is indicative of this view. The young girls borrowed white dresses so that the young men could not choose among them according to materialistic concerns. The Talmud teaches that women set the rules. The women admonish their suitors not to pick according to beauty, but by the good name of the women's families and by their fear of God. Today, says Rabbi Laufer, we live in a world that is status and fashion conscious, a world of beauty pageants and beauty ideals set by television and movies, and some synagogues are even described as meat markets where one goes to look over the unmarried merchandise. And this, my friends, brings us back to the Barbie movie. Who exemplifies ideal beauty better than the Barbies of the 1960s? And just like the Talmud's women who made the courting rules, in Barbie land, women reign supreme and the Kens are mere appendages, longing for attention and validation from women who do not seem to need them. One Ken is particularly distraught that Barbie does not appreciate or value him, and he has no self-concept in the absence of her acknowledgement. Now, as the movie progresses, and I'm not going to ruin it for those of you that haven't gone yet, we see that it's not all butterflies and rainbows in Barbie land. Barbie joins Ken in suffering and feeling uncertain and vulnerable. She feels sad for the first time, developing, wait for it, cellulite and a fear of death. And Ken embraces patriarchy only to find that the stereotypical trappings of masculinity do not bring him the comfort he craves. Just nowhere near the candles. All right, buddy? Nowhere near the candles. By the end of the film, however, our Barbies and Kens are transformed, having looked deeply into themselves to find identities different and deeper from those they had at the beginning. They forgive each other. They learn to love themselves. Another of my favorite rabbis, Susan Silverman, older sister of comedian Sarah Silverman and a tremendous advocate for adoption of teenage foster youth, wrote about Tu B'Av thusly. Whereas Tu B'Av is the day when tradition says God declared that the Jews would wander 40 years in the desert until the generation that knew slavery died out, Tu B'Av is the day when 40 years later, the remaining 15,000 Israelites of the desert generation were told they would be able to enter the promised land. God was able to forgive the Jewish people in this day, even for the sin of having built and worshipped a golden calf. And here is another connecting thread among Tisha B'Av, Tu B'Av, and Yom Kippur. Forgiveness, as you know, is one of the key tropes of the holiday of Yom Kippur. We ask God to forgive us. We ask our friends and family to forgive us. And perhaps most importantly, we ask ourselves for forgiveness so that we have the strength to begin again. Part of self-forgiveness is learning or relearning how to love ourselves, how to move past sadness, unfulfilled dreams and failed attempts, and in the words of the Barbie movie soundtrack, move closer to fine. Those of you that know that song know it's closer to fine, not closer to perfect, because nobody gets to perfect, but closer to fine is good enough. And love is so fundamental to being Jewish. We are a people, as Hallie said, commanded by God to love each other, to love those we may never meet or touch, and to love our God, a being whose face we can never encounter. We are commanded by our Torah to love 36 times. We are told to love the stranger in our midst, our neighbors, those who are foreign and unlike ourselves. The V'ahavta that Eva led us in so beautifully is not chanted once a year, but every day of every year. We are told, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Rabbi Laufer weaves love to Tisha B'Av, Tu B'Av, and Yom Kippur together beautifully by writing, the days leading up to Tisha B'Av are meant to be days of vulnerability, of uncertainty, of tension, and anxiety. We know that, and our tradition teaches it takes a while to move out of that space. We do not wake up the next day suddenly feeling grounded and ready to move forward. Two, that we're also ready to love. And that, I think, is how we inch toward Yom Kippur love. If Tisha B'Av breaks us down communally, perhaps Tu B'Av begins to raise us up. We need both the shabbat and the final words of Rabbi Laufer. Tu B'Av is not meant to be transformative, but it is meant to be preparatory. And if we can figure out how to love our neighbor, our God, and the stranger, perhaps we will be able and ready to love more deeply our spouse, our parents, our children, and ourselves. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Amy. After I saw the Barbie movie, I was walking around my house singing Closer to Fine, but I didn't know why I was singing it. Like, I couldn't put it together. And then my brother saw the Barbie movie, and he's like, Hallie, this, like, of course you've been singing Closer to Fine. I would now like to call up our board host for tonight, Karen, and I'd also like to call up Tina, and they're both going to give us some announcements.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I'd like to thank Hallie, Tina, and Amy for leading us through service in prayer and song. It was beautiful. At this moment, I'd like to call up Eva. Hey there. So on behalf of the Board of Directors of Kol Tikva, we'd like to present you with this not-so-secret gift. It's a Kiddush cup, and our pleasure. And we just hope that you will use this for years to come and always think of your home here at Kol Tikva. Mazel tov. I'm sure you're going to be amazing tomorrow. You can have a seat. We'd like to thank the Hand family for sponsoring our proneg, which was our pre-Shabbat happy hour this evening in honor of Eva's upcoming bat mitzvah. Based on tonight and the V'ahavta that we heard, you're going to do a beautiful job leading everyone in prayer and with your Torah portion. So just a few announcements. Please visit our website and check out our upcoming summer Shabbats and events. Next week is Beach Shabbat. Always fun, right? It's beautiful out there. Bring a picnic dinner and join us starting at 5 p.m. And after our picnic dinner, we'll have a beautiful song-filled Shabbat. Last time we saw dolphins. It was magical. After that is our drumming Shabbat, followed by our end of summer blowout on the 25th. If you are new here, welcome. And if you would like some information on joining us, I'll be available after the service to answer any questions. Thank you so much for joining us for Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Tonight we celebrate Tu B'Av, and the theme is love, who have had a number of lives, but have now departed from this earth. As Eva becomes B'nai Mitzvah, the Han family is remembering a loving family member who passed away, but whose spirit is part of this special celebration. Paula Hand is Eva's paternal grandmother, and the family is honoring her tonight by hanging a Yisker plaque in the sanctuary on the back wall. And as we honor her, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. But first, I want to call the Han family to the bima to read a poem in Paula's honor. So come on up.
So anyone who knew my mother knew what amazing chef she was. So it seemed only appropriate when Tina was presenting different options of poems to read tonight that we chose one about cooking and in the kitchen. It's called Kitchen Memories by Sandy Kalin. My grandmother's challah, fresh out of the oven. My mother's strudel, the sweet smell of apples and cinnamon. My aunt's Hungarian goulash, redolent with paprika. A neighborhood bakery, an open kitchen window, the local ethnic restaurant. Walking to a meeting, mind focused on my work, an aroma hits me, transporting me back. I remember those comforting times, ensconced in a kitchen nook, enveloped in the aromas of my family. Those cooks of my childhood are gone now, but are forever in my heart, coming back to me in the aromas of the kitchen.
So now we're all going to go to the turn and look at the wall of remembrance on the back of the sanctuary, where the plaque will be unveiled and the family will tighten the screws that hold the plaque in place.
our thoughts turn to those in our community who are no longer with us. This evening we observe the yard sites of Helen Albert, Marcia Kane, Robin Sharon Crawford, Norma Dominguez, Sam Friedman, Lynn Casson Gotti, Ruth and Nancy Sigmund. If you're thinking of, or if I mispronounced, please share with us now. We also hold in our prayers those taken by gun violence, those that have passed due to floods, fires, and other natural and unnatural disasters, those that have passed in the LGBTQ community that have no one but us to say Kaddish for them, and those killed in regional conflicts. Our Kaddish can be found on page 598, and we rise as a community. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'gala uvizman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam ulalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh. V'tadar v'tale v'talal shemei dekudesha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata b'shirata. Tush b'chata v'nechemata. Damiran b'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael. V'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imeru. Amen. If you'd like to stay standing up, we are going to sing our Oseh Shalom prayer. And if you feel comfortable putting your arms around the people around you, you may do so. And if not, that's all right too. We sing together Oseh Shalom. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. And you may be seated. Shabbat shalom. And for one final time tonight, I would like to call up the Hand family to help us with our Kiddush and Motzi. I know. Up and down, up and down. Last time, I promise. All right. Would you like to hold our Kiddush cup? Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. You can have it. And Eva and Bria, would you like to uncover our challah right there? Yep, we'll uncover it, take it all the way off, and then you'll lift up the tray. All right. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avon. Shabbat shalom, everyone, and anybody is welcome to come up and take some of the challah.